Brother Mel Johnson, most worshipful Grandmaster. Just been setting up, and we'll go to record. All right.
That's quite some equipment you got here.
Oh yeah, we spent a pretty penny on it.
It's getting more advanced by the day.
Yes, more and more,
slowly but surely.
It's
all right.
amazing though how inexpensively a person can get started in this.
We started off this with literally a microphone and a laptop.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, as we got bigger and added more people and sound quality, we started stepping up our game a little bit. So
as we learn things,
Yes.
there's a learning curve associated.
Yes,
with
as we learn.
So I
for
can't
sure.
see the screen, but am I on or not on?
You're on it. I can see everything going on. So basically that camera is a panoramic, so it sees from you all the way to me. So
So I don't have a face that's built for 4D.
None of us do. Don't
None
worry
of us
about
do.
that, most worshipful sir. That's why we're podcasters. And
yeah,
videographers.
that's why if you're listening to it, you don't see us unless you're on Facebook with us. All right.
It's not as clear of a picture as you might think. Too.
Yeah.
It's a fisheye lens.
All right, ready, guys?
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2. I'll introduce you, Grandmaster.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2. Hello and welcome to the Freemasons podcast. I am your host, Right Worshipful Brother George Mudry, and with me tonight,
Worshipful Brother Ken.
and our distinguished guests for the evening, Brother Melvin Johnson, most worshipful Grandmaster, Ancient Free and Accepted Masons of the Grand Lodge of the State of Connecticut. It is an absolute honor and pleasure to have you up here with us.
Welcome, sir.
Glad to be here, Irishman.
There we go. We'll move that mic just a little bit closer to you,
Okay.
and then
How's that?
perfect. And then we'll get it going. So I'm going to skip all of our pleasantries and stuff that we do, but I do have some shout outs that we're going to do, and we're going to do them all in one toast so we can get right to the Grandmaster. But we have some shout outs and likes on Facebook. Worshipful Brother John Deere, Billy Wolf, Michael Redler, Kevin Aguilar, Michael Whitney Gallagher, I apologize, George Marcy King, Bob Stevens. And we actually had an iTunes review, another 5-star review we got. This one from, his name was Bella Foxy Girl. So clearly the wife has the
account is in her name.
It's in her name.
Yeah.
But his name is, my name is Josh, and medically retired Marine. And I have taken my first step into becoming a Freemason, waiting on the Blue Lodge representative to contact me. I just started listening, and it's the only thing I listen to on my phone at work while running construction equipment. The episodes are very entertaining and informative, and I can't stop listening. Keep up the great work. Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
That's wonderful.
And the only other one we have
Thank
is
you, sir.
the other thing we have is a Facebook recommendation, and this one is from Robert May. He recommends the Freemasons podcast. And he says, this is my second podcast I've listened to and find it very interesting. 50-year-old Brother Bob. Very nice.
Thank you, Brother Bob.
So, brethren, if you'd join me in a toast. Brethren, right hand to arms.
To arms.
Ready.
Ready.
Aim.
Aim.
Fire. Good fire. Fire all. Together, brothers. Vivat, vivat, vivat. Grandmaster, I think you've heard the podcast or seen the podcast a couple times. You nailed it.
I've done the vivat a few times.
Into a couple table lodges, it seems.
Been to a couple.
Table lodge or two in my day.
All right. And then just for anybody else who's
That's the
interested,
boards.
sign up for Patreon, where we put all extra episodes. And the last thing, I actually did one before you got here, and I recorded another chapter, partial chapter, because the Master Mason chapter is extremely long, but I recorded that of Morals and Dogma.
Solo? Wow.
Did it again solo.
Albert Pike solo. That's
Getting pretty good at it,
That's
but I'll be doing better editing.
Well,
okay, right. Yeah.
well, there's no way you can make Albert Pike's book concise and try. It just does not lend itself to that. I struggled through that about 2 years ago.
It's a
Super
very
verbose.
tough read. Very
It's a
tough
hard
read.
read.
I found myself reading it and then going back and going, what the hell did I just read? And then reading it again.
Yeah.
And then had to actually break down each chapter so that I understood it. So,
morals and
And,
dogmas.
and
rough.
then about halfway through, you say, I've read this before,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
over,
Yes.
and over, and over again.
Yeah.
Because he is willing to repeat himself.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yes, he repeats quite frequently in that book. So,
The Southern jurisdiction has actually, as I understand it, I haven't looked for it because I suffered through the entire thing. But I think they now have I don't know if it's annotated, but they have a somewhat abbreviated /
layman's terms.
layman's
Cliff notes.
version of the thing that is designed to
Maybe
allow
you
you
should
to get the good out of it without the pain.
I'll tell you a funny thing.
read that on Patreon.
The book that I got, actually, I got off of eBay, and it was from 1918. So it's a very, very old book that I have. And I'm like, that's what I liked. I wanted to get a vintage old book, and I get it off of eBay. And of course, they only send you one picture, which is just basically the face of the phone. It comes in the mail in a box that was probably this big and that wide, wrapped in just with the packing peanuts in there.
Yep.
And I pulled the book out, and it's literally this thick.
Yep.
I'm going, oh, what did I get myself into?
Light bedtime reading.
Right. Oh, bedtime reading, because you will fall asleep reading it.
Well, that happened to me when I ordered the annotated Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's in 2 volumes. Each volume is about yay thick.
Yep.
And the books themselves are about this big. I mean, when the thing came, I was like you. I'm waiting for the book to come.
Yep.
I mean, what do you know? You see the picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, I go out to my front porch to pick this thing up, and
It's like 30 pounds.
30 pounds.
It's a mini fridge.
All right, Most Worshipful.
Yeah.
Let's start it off. And the first thing I want to start off is I want to hear about what got you into Freemasonry? What turned you on to Freemasonry? Who got you into Freemasonry? And we'll start from there.
Okay. Well, I came in under false pretenses, for starters.
Can we say that here?
Did they offer you money and fame?
No, I had I think like a lot of brothers, one of the things that appealed to me about it was that I came up in a generation where your father never talked about it. If you had a father or grandfather in it, you didn't know that. And I had I had spent most of my career as an attorney with Connecticut Mutual, and then I had a second career as an investment advisor. And one of the attorneys that I worked with when we were working primarily with elderly people, he was an elder law attorney, among other things, we got into these deep sort of philosophic discussions about our duty and, that it was more than just a way of making a living.
Mm-hmm.
This was something that we felt passionately about helping these people and doing it right. He said, you ought to take a look at Masonry. He says, I think, these discussions, he said, I think you would enjoy Masonry. And he himself was a Mason. And I said, I think that's a good idea because I've sort of thought about that. By that time, my children were out of college, and I was, a part of what defined you and your sense of purpose was now fulfilled.
Right. Okay.
And so sort of looking for
Something to do.
something to do, but something that was fulfilling as well as just to do.
Right.
And I said, I think my father was a Mason, and that would give me, he passed away about 20 years earlier. And I said, that would give me some connection with him. And so, I did join, I wound up joining Willis St. John's Lodge number 4. I live in Hartford, and they're at the West Hartford Lodge. And it was great because when they took my blindfold off and I looked around, I knew there probably were half a dozen people there that I worked with at Connecticut Mutual Life, and another dozen or so I knew from church people. They had the Lutheran Church, the Swedish Lutheran Church, historic Swedish Lutheran Church in downtown Hartford. Had a lot of its members. A lot of the male men were members of that lodge. It was largely a Swedish lodge, really. And so I really felt at home right from the beginning with the brothers. And of course, I was not disappointed in the fact that, yes, I found a place where there was a sense of purpose. There was great fellowship, and And I got more and more into the history and enjoying that, and then into the esoterica, if you will, the symbols and the like, and enjoying that.
Yep.
That appealed to me. And then later on, I went back to my hometown, did some research, found out that as near as I can tell, my father never was a Mason.
First generation.
Yeah. And so he talked about the Masons, and it turned out that the man who was, I call Uncle Dick, who was not a blood relative, but was the best friend my father had growing up. And the kind of friendships you only forged in the Depression. I mean, you know, that kind of a almost familial kind of friendship. Turned out that Uncle Dick was master of the lodge in my hometown. And he said, he was the one who assured me, he said, no, he said, if your dad would have joined Masonry, he says, I don't care where in the world where he traveled and joined, I would have gone there to be part of his raising as a master Mason, because it would have meant that much to me. But he never did join. And of course, that generation, that could be his best friend in the world, but he wasn't gonna talk to my dad about joining Masonry, because that you just didn't do that.
You didn't do that.
It
Was your father part of some other organization, like a civic organization?
No, I don't think he ever was. He traveled enormously, and that was part of it, is that sometimes he'd be gone on the road. He might be gone as much as a year at a time. Matter of fact, when he went to Brazil, he was down there for 2 years. Wow. You know, so I think that interfered with his, you know, just the life he led, I don't think was conducive to joining anything.
Makes sense.
So, you know, he never even really joined the church we went to. I mean, he attended with my mother. I mean, he didn't know what was good for him.
Yeah. Like most fathers do, but don't want to be there.
Yeah. So he saw his son went to the Sunday school, and he attended with his wife. But I don't think, as far as I know, he ever joined. Maybe I think he joined the church eventually when he was maybe in his 50s. But you know, it's not. He was not a joiner. And
so you got involved in the lodge.
Yeah. And
did they throw you in an officer's chair right away? Sure. Threw you in an officer's chair.
Yeah, I was, but I did go through pretty much the entire line. I joined in April or May. It was before the summer break that I was raised, and then I became I think I started out as senior steward in that following January, December, when they did the installation, and then worked my way up through. May have skipped one more chair, but otherwise I went through all the chairs, became master of the lodge. And
so you had a pretty active lodge then.
Yeah, we did. We had an active lodge, and it was a good lodge to go through the chairs in, because we had a lot of very experienced past masters and even some past district deputies, and a fairly good sized lodge, active lodge. You know, with 20 people or so on the sidelines pretty regularly, and et cetera. And then after I got through the chairs, I joined Scottish Rite and started to become active in the Scottish Rite, which is, as you know, is an independent body. And again, there's an additional 29 degrees that you can go through there. And I enjoyed that. I participated in the plays. Those degrees are mostly in the form of plays.
And you're a 33rd as well?
I'm a 33rd, yeah. I became the honorary 33rd here a few years ago. But then not just about the time I got involved in Scottish Rite, one of the brothers in my lodge who became a district deputy and asked me to be his AGM. So then I spent a couple of years traveling around throughout the entire district as an AGM.
You know all about that.
And then about 3 years after that, 4 years after that or whatever, they asked me to be a district deputy. So I became a district deputy and did the district deputy thing. And then I thought, that's fine. Now I'm through with that, and I can concentrate on my home lodge, which in the process was that we sold our building in the center of West Hartford and moved to a brand new building, and sort of almost a new build. I mean, we gutted a warehouse and turned it into a building.
Cool.
So I got to spend some time helping with that whole process. And I had no I thought I knew where I was at. I was going to be involved with as a past master of my lodge, and
you were going to ride off into the sunset.
Right
That's what
off
you're
into the sunset, and do my Scottish Rite thing,
right.
taking age appropriate roles in the Scottish Rite. So I played Moses and and assorted characters that were age appropriate, where we didn't have to the makeup people didn't have to strain themselves too much. Tried to make me look old for the part, And
that's great.
Then we had an issue arise that created an opening from the 6th district, which is my district. We have 9 districts. I'm in the 6th.
Yep.
And Charlie Yo, Most Worshipful Yo, asked me if I'd be willing to come into the line, which I said, okay, I could do that for a year and try to keep, there was a certain amount of, I don't know what you would call it, but peacekeeping to be done.
Right. Yep.
And
diplomacy.
We've dabbled, but
yeah, and so I did my best to try to restore a sense of brotherly love and in the district and et cetera. And I thought that would be it, and then turned out that there was the next year I came in as a junior deacon. And the man who was senior deacon did not wish to stand for election. And so they asked me if I'd be willing to stand for election, and the fat was in the fire. I did get elected.
Right.
And of course, at that point, now you're committed, because there's no concept of, I had to talk with my wife. And
always have to have a talk. Always have to have a talk.
Yeah. Fortunately, she didn't really understand what all was involved, so she said it was okay.
When you always start that talk, though, you're like the dog that just tore up the garbage, though. Yeah. The ears are down, the tail's tucked.
But it's been great, and the past Grand Master of my district, who was the person who had installed the individual and basically had a very close relationship with the individual who was sort of fell to the side there, actually offered to install me. So we had come a long way.
That's awesome.
And restoring harmony, and I feel very good about that, because that was more than anything else that and it's a matter of you get respect by giving respect, and so you
absolutely
I found that it was very easy for me to respect those men. Whether we agreed or disagreed, I could respect them because they were.
If only society and politics had the same policy.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I grew up with as words to live by, and I found when I joined Masonry, basically could have easily come right out of our ceremonies, is that you should never let neither animosity nor mere personal attachment should ever impel the motives or acts.
Absolutely.
And if you can stay away from that, doesn't mean you don't do good things for people that are your friends, and you work your way around the people that are fancy themselves to be your enemies.
Yep.
But you don't let that be the compelling function in how you behave yourself. You do what's right.
Absolutely.
That's a good philosophy.
I find that it's been very useful in Masonry, and frankly, I've tried to let it be very much the way I've guided my actions as a Grand Master.
Now, while we're on that, you have a question from one of the, we'll call him the podcast redhead, Worshipful Brother Joe Zanino. What does the saying on your pin mean? And I don't know what, I'm assuming it's the same one that's on your apron?
No.
No, different. Okay.
Oh, no, I wouldn't do something as simple as that. I don't know if you can you hold the pin up so that they can get a closer?
You might be.
I can do that.
Yeah, you
might
might
keep
be
talking. I'll get it up in front of the camera. If we can get it to autofocus.
Yeah.
I'll let you know if you can see it, Ken. Little closer. Stop.
Can you see the word at the bottom?
Mudita.
Yes, mudita.
Mudita.
Mudita. Words to live by.
And
Mudita, if you haven't heard the word, don't be too surprised. It's actually a Sanskrit word, and very few of us are really that adept at Sanskrit.
Certainly not me.
no.
Not even close.
Including me, incidentally. It's the one word of Sanskrit I happen to know. So, but it is in, I think in Buddhism, probably in starting out earlier than that, it's a state, one of the highest states of consciousness you can reach. And it is a state of consciousness in which you get joy from the happiness of other people.
Oh.
Other people's happiness brings you joy.
That's awesome.
And to me, when I talk about seeking light in Masonry and progressing up through the entered apprentice to fellow craft to master mason and constantly seeking additional light, to me, an important part of that is getting to that point where the things I do that bring other people, I'm not doing it because it's my burden to do that. It's because I really get joy from doing those things.
Right.
And I think the more we can do that as brothers, as Masons, that the charitable works we're doing, we go in and we give 2 pounds of effort and get 5 pounds of pleasure.
Yep.
Then we're making real progress as Masons, and then it's and also that kind of joy nobody wants to take away from you.
Right.
Right.
Nobody wants to.
Who's ever going to be the guy to do that?
If you're being happy gives me joy, you want me to be as joyful as I can be.
Exactly.
Right. Grandmaster, you have questions firing in left and right. So I'm just going to keep going down the line here. The Deputy Grandmaster also is now watching as well, Stephen Petrie, our Deputy Grandmaster.
Right, worshipful sir.
Joseph Schultz, worshipful brother Joseph Schultz out of Delaware. We were talking before. He said, missed you during your visit to Delaware. You left quick before I could meet you. But he's got 3 questions.
Okay.
What is your best experience being a Grandmaster? Most challenging being a Grandmaster? And then his last question is, other than leaving, what did you like about Delaware? So...
Well, basically, I liked everything about the Delaware experience. It was a phenomenal, great state. One of the things I loved about Delaware, and I took back from it, is I think their Grand Lodge officers have the same kind of sense that they're there to serve the lodges and the brothers that I try to bring to it. It's a service position. It's not a position of power. It's a position of service.
Right.
And I think that Grand Lodge, those men there, and you see it. As a matter of fact, we talked about that before we went on the air. That is a place where if you go to the rank and file Blue Lodge members and the officers of the lodges there, they talk very affectionately about their Grand Lodge officers. They have great respect and vice versa.
Right.
When you talk to the Grand Lodge officers about the Blue Lodges, they have nothing but good to say about their people for the most part. You know, and so I really appreciate that, and being in that atmosphere was great. So that's probably the thing I enjoyed most about Delaware.
Right. And the other 2 were most gratifying being Grandmaster and most challenging.
I think most challenging is just not disappointing the craft. That you're trying to move. That we have some real challenges. I mean, one of the things that really troubles me is that we lose a lot of brothers, almost upwards of 260, 70, 80 a year that we lose, that just drop out. Non-payment of dues, we call it.
Deputies.
And these are brothers that somehow or another we have disappointed. They have not found the value proposition. Many, of course, find the value proposition as we did, and they stay in it and so forth. And so setting up programs that will increase the value proposition to the brothers so that they want to stay, they want to grow. We talked about, you know, as a matter of fact, that's why I just talked about is growing in Masonry, and but it's got to be a joyous, fun experience. It's not it's not like going and getting some kind of master's degree in some kind of the really difficult statistics. Maybe getting your master's degree in statistics or something. I mean, it's not like that's not what this is supposed to be about.
Right.
And so we're putting in those programs, and I think things like we talked about, having the matching grant program for the first time, where lodges that
and this is a program that Connecticut is the Grand Lodge Connecticut is currently doing.
The Grand Lodge has, with the help of, basically it's a program done jointly between ourselves and the we have what's called the CT Freemasons Foundation, which is an independent entity that is the charitable outreach arm of the Grand Lodge. And so the trustees have agreed to do this, and so we'll be matching, not quite as generous as I'd hoped initially it would be, but it's going to be good. We're going to match the first $500 that a lodge gives, dollar for dollar, and the next $500 we give would be 50 cents. So if a lodge goes out and has a one or more pancake breakfasts and raises money for the local food bank, maybe they raise $300 for the local food bank.
Right.
Well, they can now come to the Grand Lodge, and if it meets the standards and what have you, then we'll match that $300, and so they can actually give the food bank $600. And so I'm hoping it'll inspire the brothers, especially in some of the smaller lodges.
Yeah, smaller lodges.
It's one thing to be in a lodge with a $3 million foundation or something, but that's pretty rare in our environment. That's not the lodges we know, right? So when the brothers go out and bust their chops doing a pancake breakfast, for instance, or whatever it would be, maybe it's a 4K road race or something. Now we can increase that, and especially if they're raising small amounts, we can double it.
Yeah, a grant is a force multiplier when you're a small lodge, and you do all that work for a fundraising event like that, and you end up raising $100. I mean, that's discouraging. You really don't want to do it anymore if that happens.
I just want to also say we have a brother here in. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Can you finish your?
I'm done now.
Sorry, I apologize. We also have a brother up here, Jim Rafferty, who is like he's our reach out to the community guy. Yeah. And he will make you bankrupt with all the stuff that he does with car shows, and he wants to do all kinds of crazy stuff. So So for some of our brothers, to me, when I say, well, why are you a Mason? What is it that really? I want every Mason in Connecticut to have the richest, most rewarding, satisfying Masonic experience he's willing to have. And I want him to be fully made aware of how rich and rewarding it can be if he'll participate.
Yep. Right.
And then if we've done those two things, then I think we're going to be fine. And for some, charitable work is the most rich, rewarding Masonic thing they can do. For many, it's fellowship. The fellowship is the focus. For some, it's the education, the learning about the symbols and all of this kind of thing. So we have to find ways that we can reach each one of those people and provide them with a program. And I think the most satisfying thing is I see real progress being made right now. The Right Worshipful Brother Joe Porco, who is he's the senior deacon. He's now in charge of what we call the Community Action COCA, our Committee on Community Action, and he has put together a phenomenal program that in October at the semi-annual is going to be unrolled for everybody to see the kitties put together for all the different programs, to reach out to veterans, to reach out to, because the other thing is community, we have to rethink what community is. That community is not just Seymour.
Right.
Our community, the veterans, are a community.
Yeah.
There is a community of veterans.
We're actually doing something on the podcast. We have a MOVE campaign, which is Masons outreach for veterans everywhere. And we're doing the same thing. We're having little business cards printed up, and we're giving them out to brothers who listen to the podcast, and they're going to go to veterans hospitals, Fisher Homes, Wounded Warrior Project, and they're going to be, it's going to have our little thing on it, and it's going to talk about basically everything that Freemasonry stands for, brotherhood and all that.
Yeah. So there's an active program that's been around since World War I run by the MSA, Masonic Service Association, which you've probably seen their monthly
Yes.
publications.
Yep.
They have a program for visiting hospitals, veterans hospitals, and one of our we have not had a visitor. We have not had an official MSA person assigned to the hospital down at West Haven for some number of years now, and just as of last month, we have filled that spot now. So now we have a past Grand Master who is going to be an official visitor, doing Masonic stuff, good stuff.
Nice.
Not bringing the Masonic message, but bringing the Masonic love
Right.
to the veterans in that hospital, and I feel very, very good that we've accomplished that this
And
year.
that's the important thing. Eventually, somebody's going to ask questions, but the idea is you're going there to serve.
Yeah, but the fact is, whether nobody ever does or not, the brothers, now that we know we have somebody there, we can feel better about ourselves.
Right. At least we're putting it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can feel good about ourselves, and so that improves the Masonic experience of all of us.
Mhm.
Whether it brings anybody else in doesn't make any difference.
Right.
That's not what we're doing it for.
Awesome.
Another question for you, Grandmaster. What is the Grand Lodge doing to attract next generation of Freemasons?
Well, I think we just talked about some of
Pretty
that.
much, yeah, covered a little bit of that.
I think one of the things that, and we don't have any good way to measure this. We have, of course, the EMR, we call it. It's Electronic Membership Request Program, where you can go in on our website. You can look at our website if you have questions about Masonry. We try to have a number of them answered there.
Right.
And also there's a thing there where you say, well, I'm interested in learning more about it. You hit the learn more, and eventually it gets you down to a button. You can say that you want to have somebody put in contact, and we'll give your name to one or two lodges local to your, that you choose as being local to you, so that you can go meet them. And what we're encouraging people to do is to go out and not be anxious to get an application. You're not buying a pair of shoes here, but to go to the lodge and meet the guys, have dinner with them. Maybe if they do something in the community, if they're doing something, go ahead and join them in that community activity and get to see them, see if that's the kind of thing you enjoy doing, if that gives you a sense of fulfillment and the like. And if it does, and it's the right time for you, and the brothers agree that you're the right person, then I hope that people will join. And if you go on the website, you notice that there's a video thing that I have done.
Yep. So you're natural. That's why you're a natural on this.
So we're going to be making more use of video. We've got the Facebook is coming up. We're doing more with Facebook. We had Dr. Cook here, who gave a great series of lectures. I don't know if you guys had a chance to go see him.
I don't.
But he was up. We brought him in for the 230th, and we advertised that extensively on Facebook, boosted the posts and did all the things and used.
Right.
So a lot of people got a chance to be exposed to it through that. And I know one person who we had an individual who didn't come to it, but did wind up asking to join a lodge. So
nice.
it's if we can really say who we are, what we're about, there are a lot of people out there would like to have a more fulfilling life than they currently have, and would like a sense of male fellowship coupled with that fulfillment. And we just getting that message out is, and now what I'm trying to do, the way we're set up with our strategic plan that we've started, is that during my year, I am primarily focused on the quality of the experience of the brothers we currently have at the lodges we currently have. And then the district, you mentioned that the deputy grand master is actually listening to the podcast.
Mhm.
He, in turn, then is going to be much more focused on outreach and on not so much marketing, but public relations, but just getting the word out as to what we really are.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But my job is to see to it that when we get that message out, when the person says, yes, I'm interested, when he comes in, he finds what we've told him he's going to find.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because we don't want to have the guy coming in already, oh boy, this is the greatest thing. I'm ready to go. And then he walks into the lodge and the guys are debating about whether or not they want to have LED lights or regular lights in their thing. No, that's not. That's not, we don't want them to find that to be their Masonic experience, because that's our non-payment of dues.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So,
and that's why I've always been an advocate for lodge programs, doing stuff.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Again, you touched on something that I had said in one of my earlier podcasts: the 5 different types of people who join Freemasonry. And if a brother comes in that is like a 3rd generation Mason, do a presentation on his family alone, and you'll keep him for life.
Yeah,
veterans and all that stuff. There's so much you can do with different programs.
Yeah, because
it breaks up the monotony of the night, where it's not just the order of business, read the minutes, play the bills, and then when are we meeting again?
Yeah. Well, I think too that if we really focus, as we should focus, on wanting to attract people to us, not for what they can do for us, but what we can do for them.
Right.
Remember, the reason we want them to join is because we have something we can do for them that will enrich their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And then we focus on doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It seems really simple on the
It's really
surface,
not
too,
very
right?
difficult.
I think
But nobody comes to join to relieve us of our burdens.
Right.
You come in so we can relieve you of your burdens.
I also think it's a two-way street. And the reason why I say that is because when people come into Freemasonry, they want to learn the secrets. And they're like, I want to learn the secrets. I want to learn what this means. I want to learn. And then they get here and they're like, well, there's not really secrets.
Yeah.
But there is. If you read the ritual and try to learn and understand the ritual, it's a plethora of information. Something I had read from Morals and Dogma earlier today was the misunderstanding of the word heal or hail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In our ritual. It's a misunderstanding.
Yep.
People think, I hail from this lodge. That's not what it meant. You gotta understand what the words mean. What is he talking about this Waterford for? And what is he talking about hanging a plumb line here for? You have to really learn and understand. It's a journey for you. And each Mason's different. Some want to learn the ritual part of it and learn the esoteric. Others want to do community stuff.
Yeah.
So you get back what you put into it. That's the way I kind of feel it.
Well, it's a tapestry. It's a beautiful, very involved tapestry that we've been weaving for over 300 years.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of us has got a piece of it that we're weaving.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, we don't weave on the same piece our entire Masonic career.
No.
Merrill, when you came into Masonry, you didn't pick up Morals and Dogma and start reading it.
I wanted to know what was on the back of the dollar bill.
Yeah, right.
I seen a History Channel episode. That's why.
Yeah. So, the Morals and Dogma comes later if you're interested.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got thousands of Masons that are wonderful, wonderful Masons that are never going to open up the book of Morals and Dogma and look inside of it, right?
No.
But they may be doing something that we would never be doing.
Correct.
And but you see that in that's why I brought the apron.
Ken, you want to hold that up and show it to the camera? Sorry, it's easier for you to get out than me because I'm not going to pull a Ken and smack the camera off. Last podcast, Ken grabbed the wire with his foot and the camera went flying. It was kind of funny.
I just couldn't lift my legs at that point. I was tired.
So, Grandmaster, tell us about the aprons of the Grandmaster. Again, we had a conversation when you first came up here. I asked you, is that the apron you actively wear as a Grandmaster?
And that is my apron. So that is the apron I wear as a Grandmaster. And when I become a past Grandmaster, that'll continue to be the apron I wear. That is my apron.
And I always thought that Grandmaster, you get the standard issue Grandmaster apron. I didn't realize the Grandmaster actually designs his own apron.
Yeah, it's all hand painted. It's hand painted leather, and There are certain standard things to every Grand Master's apron. You notice at the top of the apron is the seal of the Grand Lodge of Ancient Free and Accepted Masons in Connecticut. And then in here at the top, you've got the compass with the and the seeing eye in the triangle, and the I don't know if that's acacia, but it's at the
Underneath the square
wreath.
Compasses? Oh, the wreath.
The wreath.
Okay.
These two items here you will find on every Grand Master's apron.
Right.
Okay. And then we haven't had painted Grand Master's aprons, I don't think, for a long time.
Yeah, I've always seen them embroidered.
Yeah. This is the 230th anniversary of the founding of the Grand Lodge in 17, what is that? You have to do the arithmetic again now. 1789? Yeah. So, yeah, 17.
I can kill it over here, Ken.
Oh, you want to do that?
Yeah,
I
I'll
can't
do it.
reach the switch.
I'm sorry, I got it.
So so to some degree, this is an homage to aprons that were worn. If you go into lodges and you look on their walls, you'll find
We've got a couple of
painted
those.
aprons similar to this.
Right.
Usually going back sometime into the first half of the 1800s or maybe even into the 1700s.
And actually, our aprons are no longer rounded, and I see you have
Yeah, I went to the rounded
rounded.
apron. And frankly, I would like to encourage our brothers to have painted aprons. Because
cool
I
idea.
think that expressing yourself, having the apron, choosing designs, as you mentioned, our symbols are very rich and they mean a tremendous amount. And they mean something different to different brothers. Different symbols have more meaning than others. This is not, by no means is this every symbol that we have.
No.
Not even close.
Not even
No.
close. But they're symbols that have particular importance to me. They tell the story I want to tell.
Right.
Your story would be different. You might have certain symbols might be standard, but others you would choose other ones.
Right.
And so and of course, one of the things you'll find if you do get a painted apron, and I encourage people to do it, is that to some degree you paint by the symbol. So there is a limiting factor on how many symbols you want on there, both from an economic standpoint as well as from from the standpoint you just don't want it to be a cluttered mess.
Right. That's true.
So choose wisely.
But if on my apron,
It's like
you'll see,
tattoos.
on my apron, really what you're doing is coming up on the left side. You're coming up the intellectual side of Masonry. On the right side, you're starting to come up what I would call the human, you're gravitating from the inner apprentice up through
Correct.
and then finally the totally spiritual is up the center.
So the Latin on the bottom.
Fiat lux is let there be light. And of course, in Masonry, that phrase "let there be light" is one that in our ceremonies shows up in very significantly. And the concept, that's the first thing you're asked is, why did you come? What am I looking for? And I want to improve myself, and I want light. I want to be enlightened. And there's nothing magic about it. I want to be enlightened, and I think I can gain enlightenment in Masonry. And indeed, you're reading an 850-page book.
Not anymore. I'm not.
Not doing it just for fun.
I'm not doing it for fun.
Right. Doing it for enlightenment.
But I mean, and when you finish, whether you understand a third of that book or a tenth of that book or all of that book, you're gonna feel like you're a little richer. You've learned something. You've been enriched by that experience.
It's a book that if you read it, some of it's hard to read, but some of it you can understand. And the stuff that you understand is, that makes sense. Like but it's definitely a book that you have to read once and then go back to it again because it's very tough read. But I have a question for you, Grandmaster. And this kind of ties into Greg Schultz asked the question, does the Grandmaster see social media such as the Freemasons podcast as a help educating the brothers or the general public about Masonry? Kind of ties in, but what do you think is one of the toughest hurdles for Freemasonry, be the state of Connecticut or Masonry as a whole? What is one of the toughest things that we need to try to, that's hurting us in a sense?
Apathy. just plain apathy. It's the same thing that's hurting the churches. It's hurting all organizations. People really, to some degree, I think the biggest problem we have, the biggest hurdle we have, is that there's a siloing. There's a sense of, I'm going to get in my silo, and I'm going to surround myself only with people that talk the same way I talk, that think the way I talk. I don't want to be disturbed. I don't want to have to get outside my comfort zone of anything. And so I'm going to listen to the same radio station all the time. I'm going to make sure if I watch television, it's the same station that goes with that radio station. If I tune in on social media, I'm going to unfriend all the people that have thoughts that are different from mine.
And that happens organically on
Yes,
social
it
media
does.
too. On
Yeah.
Facebook,
And
if you
so-
want to have an insular point of view, it knows, the algorithm knows, because you're only liking and commenting on the stuff you agree with. So it shows you more of that.
Yeah, and
So
pretty soon you find that you've instead of expanding your thought process and expanding your life and
You're
your
narrowing.
experiences, you're shrinking them. And all of that works against us because we're all about expanding your experiences.
I think for me, I've always said
It's true.
these things are the devil because
They certainly
again,
don't
I've
help.
talked, I don't remember if I said it on the podcast, but I went to a restaurant, it was a while ago, and I was sitting down, and it's the mother, the father, the two kids, and every single one of them, not a conversation was sat at the table, just
What?
playing with their phones.
About
That's
3-4 years ago, we're having another one next year, but I think it's 3 or 4 years ago, I don't remember which, we had a family reunion.
Uh,
So we got 7 grandchildren, right? I walk into the living room. Nobody's talking. 7 kids
It's disturbing.
sitting in a big living room, and nobody is talking to each other.
Right.
All this, you know? And I said, you guys, you don't understand, but you cousins, this is your chance as cousins to build,
Yep.
and visit with each other and the like, and, because we don't all get together. We all live all over the country, Oh, no, we're talking to each other.
No.
Somebody last
Go play some horseshoes together.
No, they're on the phone. The entire conversation was being done texting each other.
Not actually.
No, they're sitting from me to you,
So weird.
and the whole conversation, and it's a 3-4 way conversation going on. They're telling jokes. They're having this, but again, it's a very limited kind of conversation because it's limited to 5 or 6 words at a time, or 10 words at a time. It's not.
Or faces, emoji faces.
Yeah, emoji
How
faces.
the hell do you have conversations with emoji faces?
And God
Who
gave
was
us a voice and a language. Like,
Right.
why not just use it?
Yeah.
Your battery. There's no battery that ever dies if you're
Even
just talking to
monkeys go.
somebody else.
"Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, ooh."
Yeah.
That's scary.
But in fairness to the kids, now they did go out. We had horseshoes and we
Okay.
had a lot of things going on. They were doing play, But someday I'm going to walk into a lodge. As God's my witness, there will be a time in my lifetime when I walk into a lodge and they open and close lodge and never say a word.
No, that'd be terrifying.
Where every officer in the lodge has a cell phone and
God, I hope
does,
that never
does the
happens.
entire ceremony by
Let me
does the
tell you.
entire ceremony by
Text
by
message.
text message.
Let me tell you, not that it would ever happen, but if I ever got to the rank of Grand Master and walked in and seen that, I would
Yeah.
flip out.
There would be a new
I
decree.
would flip.
But we have a
yes.
we have a generation of brothers coming in that would be very comfortable doing it exactly
Mhm.
that way. They would see absolutely nothing disturbing about that at all. Now I would be disturbed by it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But
Honestly, I think we come up here to get away from the profane world, and to me, the cell phone is the most profane thing you can do.
Yeah. And we're young Masons,
You
right?
get-
Like, we're
Everything at the tip of your hands, news, social media, and I always thought that the lodge in itself was an escape from everything else outside.
Mhm.
So I don't see the whole need of the only thing I use my phone, again, being secretary, if I got to do a quick, figure something out fast, but other than that, I don't even take notes on my computer. I don't even type up minutes or anything on the computer. I do everything handwritten.
written.
But now see, we've gone to Grandview, which is an electronic record keeping thing, and it has some tremendous advantages over the paper.
Right. Yes.
Because I can manipulate. I spent today, this morning, I was looking at where we are. I've mentioned these MPDs. So I went in and I said, okay, for the 12 months starting on October 1 of 2018 and ending on September 30th of 2019, how many MPDs did we have? How does it divide up by lodge? How many new Masons did we raise during that period of time? And how does that, which lodges have done the best job, and et cetera?
Right.
There's no way I could do that with paper reports.
No,
just no way I could. I would have to get maybe Debbie down in the office. She might be able to work it out and finally give me a report on it. But I can sit there at 8:00 in the morning and look at that.
That's necessary use of technology.
And thank you for getting rid of the written minutes. Or the written monthlies. That's what I meant to say.
But now, but not everybody says thank you for getting rid of the written monthlies. But the thing is, I know
who those people are, but
if you
they sure ain't secretaries.
But if you have an entered apprentice degree here, in theory, I can find out about. It'll be on when I go in on my report. I'll know tomorrow morning that we've got one more entered apprentice than we had the day before.
Right.
Whereas otherwise, I have to wait for the written report to come in at the end of the month. And then I have to wait for Debbie to assemble the written reports, and then eventually learn that we had whatever's going on. So it's very, very. And the problem you have with me, of course, is I'm the oldest person ever to have served as Grand Master. So
Really?
Wow. So I'm not the probably the best person to think of in terms of getting the most out of this capability. But the men behind me are committed to really using it very well.
Right.
And we're putting right now, and my job is to get the pieces put in. And then I think you're going to see that they're going to be far more effective in helping the lodges and helping the brothers get the best Masonic experience they can get.
A good general always listens to his lieutenants.
So I think,
I think it's a great system. For me, from a master's standpoint, I've always had an issue having an up-to-date email list. Right. I'm always taking whatever email blast the secretary sent out to the craft previously and taking that and grabbing all the addresses and then doing a blind copy on everybody. But
and then
what about that EA that was, just initiated last week? He's not on that list. Does he need to know about what I'm talking about in this email? Absolutely.
Or you get when you and I had this, and thank God for Grandview, because I used to do the same thing. Fired an email blast, and let's say I sent out 20 emails, you'd get 16 of them come back as email fails, and it bounces the email back to you.
But more importantly, is you're not including certain people, and those people, especially new EAs, new FCs, they need to know about this stuff because that's what keeps them involved.
And also, a lot of our newer brothers, when they first join us, especially our younger newer brothers, they are accustomed to having, like, if you have your you have your meetings, I don't know what you have meet twice a month here.
Twice a month,
and it's always the
first Saturday, third Thursday for us.
Okay.
We do first and third Thursdays.
First and third Thursdays. Okay, so you do first and third Thursdays. When you join, you get a trestle board, and you know that you're going to show up on first and third Thursday. This is where you're going to be on the first and third Thursday. Barring something different.
Yep.
The new guys don't know that.
Right.
They honestly do not know that. They expect, if you expect them to come to the meeting, they expect to get a text message.
An invite of some sort.
Of some kind of invite saying, remember that we're meeting Thursday night.
Right.
And ideally, a text message says, remember we're meeting Thursday night, and we're going to have a brother so-and-so is going to be speaking about the history of the lodge, or he's going to be speaking about this or that.
Right.
And they expect that every single week. Because when I talk to people who have left, that was one of the things. Some of the younger guys said, well, I came to lodge, and then when I didn't, nobody reminded me to come to lodge. And then I didn't show up, and nobody got hold of me right away to say they missed me, and so I figured that I wasn't needed. If they needed me, they'd call me and tell me to come.
And the Grand Lodge also has the call them all system
as
well that all lodges use.
And you noticed I used that this year.
I
couple of times.
So
I've
we
used
don't use that at our lodge. Is that a Grand Lodge?
You don't use the call them all?
So does Grand Lodge have a subscription to that, and
Yeah.
individual lodges can
we-
buy
we-
into that
we
and do it? As,
We're starting to move away from
I'm gonna talk to my
something
secretary.
else. There's something else that they've determined is more. But at the moment, call them all is still being used. But again, you right through Grandview. You can do it right through
Really?
Grandview.
Yeah.
Right through the Grandview system.
I'm gonna
So call them all basically
talk to a
has
couple brothers in my lodge.
every single member of your lodge in call them.
I know that, yeah.
And all you have to
I
do
didn't know
is-
that Column was integrated. Oh,
If you, for those who are listening who don't know what we do here in the state of Connecticut for the Call 'em All, but it's a program. You go in there and you load in all of your members,
Mhm.
and you put in whatever generic cell phone robo number that you want to put in, and it'll give you like a passcode, and you write a record, or you basically speak a recorded message, and once you hit send, it'll fire a
Blast that message
pre-recorded
out to
message
everybody.
to everybody, and it comes across just like a phone call.
Now, under
No
the
Grand
new
Lodge do that.
system that we have, the person getting it can opt out,
Right, yeah. That's
or they can
standard, yeah.
elect to have it come as a text,
Mm-hmm.
or they can elect to have it come as an email.
Huh.
And they will get it the way they have elected
Right.
that they prefer to get it.
Mhm.
Which might be,
Interesting.
might be the voice, might be the text message, or it might be the email.
That's
Or
a great
they can-
idea.
Or they can opt out completely.
Or
if
they can
don't.
opt out completely. Of course, they can
Which
say, I
is-
don't want to hear.
And that's
Right.
these are like the modern ways that people communicate. But that's really cool. I didn't know that Grand Lodge had that available for all the lodges
Yeah.
in the state.
Yeah.
That's
That's
a game changer,
That's
man.
quite new. It's
Yes, it
only
is.
been around a relatively few months in its total package.
Yeah.
But it came with the Grandview system is unrolling and adding features as we go. But it's
I always had a suggestion too, and it's something we do up here at Morningstar, and we've talked about it a while on a couple podcasts. But we have a GroupMe app, which is basically it's a texting app. Because here's the problem with text messaging: I have an iPhone, he's got a Samsung, you
Yeah.
got something else, right? And if I group texted everybody and said, "Hey guys, what's going on?" He's going to get a text message, but it's going to come as a separate thread than your text messages. And then when you go through
Sometimes,
your
yeah.
text messages, you got 37 different text messages going and 3 different strains. It gets confusing. So this
Yeah.
GroupMe app that we have, you can basically load in. You invite people into this thing, and our entire lodge is in this app. And I thought that'd be cool to have like a communication type texting thing,
chat room thing that's
like a
from
chat
Grand
room
Lodge.
statewide for all Masons in the state.
we haven't implemented it yet. But yeah, it's coming, and that's part of the thing that you're going to see probably more so under with Stephen. Next year, because he's 10 times as computer savvy as I am, because at one point he did this kind of thing as a consultant for people. But also, it's just a matter we're trying to unroll the stuff as we can. One of the challenges we have, and we've got brothers out there listening, is get yourself into Grandview, because right now I think we have less than 10% of the brothers are actually signed into Grandview and checking Grandview
Really?
with any kind of regularity.
10% of the total membership
Yeah.
of the state of Connecticut.
Yeah.
Oh,
Debbie didn't give me a chance.
And-
I'm the secretary, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty much in it
you
already.
have to be in it.
But it's going to be used. One of the things I've asked and Right Worshipful Brother Ives is doing is that the seminars and everything that the Committee on Education is doing, they're going to be making video casts of those,
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that's
and
awesome.
then those are going to be posted on Grandview as a resource.
Right. And you also have a YouTube channel, correct?
Well, it's. I don't think he's using YouTube. He's using a competitor of YouTube, but it's the same idea.
Right.
Same idea.
Hmm.
It's gonna have all the. It's gonna work just like a YouTube video.
Very cool.
And
That's a good
the
idea.
beautiful thing there is that you go to the Masters and Wardens seminar. Well, if you don't take better notes than I do, and then 6
really
months
take notes.
later, when you're actually for the first time, you're actually the master, and now this question comes up, and you say, "I think they said something about that. They covered it."
Go back and rewatch it.
Now you can go back and listen to the
Right.
to that.
That's-
It'd be edited over, I mean, because
Right,
the
right,
seminar's 3 hours long, so
Yep.
you're going
Right.
to get edited bits of it. But I mean, those are the types of things we're trying to do, again, to improve the quality of the experience, is in Grandview, have these videos, and that's a relatively new thing for Grandview. That's something that they've only unrolled
Mhm.
fairly recently, so we haven't had a chance to really use it yet because it's only been there a few months or a couple of months.
It's better to roll out one feature at a time too. When
that's
you've got this many
that's-
users.
So the Schultz brothers in Delaware, they're
Yeah.
both Worshipful brothers. Actually, one currently is a sitting Worshipful master. Did you read this yet?
No, on the no.
He's got to run, but he says, thank you, most Worshipful, for sharing your time with your busy schedule. I appreciate your openness to share with the online community and for not throwing the Freemasons podcast off the air.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet.
No, he's young.
They're terrorists, the two of them.
Yeah.
They're funny as hell, but all right.
I have one question for
Fire
you,
away.
Worshipful Certificate. So I've always kind of been, I've never had an opportunity to ask a grandmaster or a past grandmaster this question, but I've always been curious as to, no, it's nothing bad. But when you were early in your Masonic career, let's say when you first entered the officers line in your home lodge, did you have any inkling that eventually you would be in the Grand East? Did you have any aspiration to that, or
I didn't have
didn't
any
even cross your
aspiration to
mind?
be in the Grand East as recently as 6-7 years ago.
So totally organically it happened.
Yeah.
You had no.
Just they asked me to serve, and I was willing to serve, but I never had any aspirations to serve at the Grand Line level. I
Wow.
was very content to be helping my lodge and helping.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, I feel guilty that I'm not able to be there for my own lodge
Because you're
right
sitting
now,
in the Grand
Because
East.
you're sitting in the East.
because I'm sitting in the Grand East. But my life has been like that. My life has not been some kind of cosmic kind of flow of things.
Mhm.
I've had, my first wife died when she was 40 years old. I met Marge about 1.5 years later because she came to work at Connecticut Mutual in the same department I was in, although she'd been hired to actually work in a different department. Had they put her in the department she was hired to work in, I would have never met her.
That's
Wow.
interesting.
But I met her, and we've been married 39 years now.
Wow.
So I look back over my life, any number of things.
Divine intervention.
Yeah,
you think.
whether you call it divine intervention or
Yeah,
not,
fate or
but the
whatever.
fact is, I think what you have to do is, as things come up, every door that closes, there's another door that opens.
Mhm.
And you're always making choices. And some of your choices turn out to be brilliant. Some of your choices turn out that they sort of sucked. But you move past the ones that didn't work,
Mhm.
and you grab hold of the ones that do.
Right.
And I think if you try to have some grand plan to make this happen,
Mm.
I'm not so sure that it will be. One of the things that's a problem, and it goes back to this, you've seen it as Masters of the Lodge, you see it as District Deputy.
Mhm.
It has to be something that comes to you because it's the right time for you to serve in that capacity.
Mhm.
Right.
There's never a right time for you to get that apron
Mhm.
or for you to get that title.
Right. No, you're
Fair
absolutely
point.
right.
No.
If it's the right time for you to serve in that capacity and you take advantage of that and serve, then the title or the apron or the whatever, okay.
Right.
But if you're chasing that,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you are, not only you, but the craft are ill served.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So,
That's a good answer.
Absolutely. That's good advice. Very good advice. All right, Grandmaster, before we shut this down, I got some gifts for you. And maybe, Ken, you can assist.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to start with a couple things. First, for Morningstar Lodge, I'm going to give you one of our car show shirts.
Oh, wonderful.
We had our car show. We raised money for the
I didn't even get
the
one
high
of those.
school. I hope you're a large, are you? If not, I'll switch up
Yeah.
the size.
Yeah, no. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. I'm a great fan of, what is the auction guy? The
Barrett Jackson.
Not
Yeah.
Barrett Jackson, it's the competitor.
Yeah,
Starts with an M, I think.
something roadshow.
Yeah,
Right?
but anyway, they're on the. I never seek them out, but they're on. For me, they're on the same channel at the near where the NFL is. So if I'm casting around over there, I find them.
Next thing, I have to give you a shirt from the
Freemasons podcast.
From the
shirt.
podcast.
from the podcast. Us
Okay,
hooligans.
Great. You gonna autograph it for me?
I will autograph it.
Yeah, there you go.
You're the first person who's ever asked us to.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah, autograph.
First autograph I got, and also I gotta find a Sharpie if you'd like.
I can't really hold that up.
And
That's
that is the
Morningstar.
Morningstar 47 pin. I'll put it on the podcast later. And we wouldn't be complete without giving him
The
a
official
Puppet George.
Puppet George
bumper
Freemasons
sticker.
podcast.
There you go. There you go.
Decal.
George. He comes into my office about once a week.
Puppet George, that's disturbing.
He comes into my office about once a week too.
He's got something on his mind.
Yes,
So
he always
Real or
does.
imagined.
He always
yes,
does.
so it's Ken, you want to recharge your cannon because we have one last toast.
Oh, we have to toast you.
Yes. We have one last toast, and I would like to. Joseph Schultz, the other hooligan, says, "Give him underwear and socks like it's Christmas."
A new tie, perhaps.
I would like to toast you, most worshipful Grandmaster, sir.
Oh,
Thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure having you up here.
well,
Thank you so much.
You are welcome to come back here, and
I appreciate all the softball questions.
We try not to make them too difficult.
yeah, we try not to go too difficult. You know, it's
not a job interview.
Yeah,
we're not
yeah.
trying to shake anybody
We're up
up.
here to have
Yeah.
fun and talk about the good things. We don't really try to dwell on anything bad. We try to mostly stay away from it. The only thing I love doing is heckling the people on YouTube that
Yeah.
say we're evil and all
Yeah.
this other stuff. I love doing
The
that.
conspiracy theorists.
I get my rocks off on that. It's just who I am.
Yeah,
We're
we
not
got
Joe
somebody
Rogan.
showing up on our Facebook page that's from the Illuminati.
Oh, they've been
we've
hitting us up.
getting
You
the
know what we
same
do?
thing.
We actually
We should
have
trade notes on how to
We
deal
should.
with
We
these
should.
people.
We actually have a brother, Rob Fowler, out of Missouri. We call him Agent 47 because this is Morningstar Lodge 47, and he actually trolls them and makes fun of them and basically heckles them in order to because
take the
what they're after
limelight
is
off of
they're
us.
after
so they
money,
don't go after
and they're all from Nigeria.
Is that what it is?
They're all from African nations, and they're
various countries.
Yeah.
yeah,
Most
you'll
of
have to go
Nigeria.
back. Some of them are funny, but we've done things where they've talked about you needed to get certain items and it costs this amount of money. Send me a check now and we'll get it to you on your doorstep tomorrow. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we point them out, heckle them in a funny manner, but to show that they are scam artists.
Yeah.
And that's what our game is.
And
But
not let them scam anyone else. You know?
the toast to you, most worshipful Mel Johnson. Thank you again for being up here.
Well,
Sir.
thank you very
Brothers.
much for having me.
Right hand to arms.
To arms.
Ready.
Ready.
Aim.
Aim.
Fire. Good fire. Fire all. Together, brother.
Vivat! Vivat! Vivat!
And
Thank
it
you very much.
wouldn't be fair if I didn't toast back. I mean,
Ah.
that's part of the game. You got to respond.
Just
That is
like a
part of the
table
lodge
lodge.
game.
Yeah. So here's to the podcast and to my hosts and to the hospitality. It's much appreciated.
Thank you, my
Our
brother.
pleasure.
Vivat! Vivat! Vivat!
Thank you, Grandmaster.
Thank you, most worshipful sir.
All right, you hooligans
Well
watching and listening, we're going to shut this down. So for the Freemasons podcast, I'm your host, Right Worshipful Brother George Mudry, signing off.
Worshipful brother Ken signing off.
And you, Grandmaster. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, y'all.
Audio down.
I hope so. That
Shut the live down. Corey Lady, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to deal with these two brothers.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're
here
not
they
that
come.
bad.
Now they're coming out of the woodworks.
Yeah.
Yes. Now all the heckling's going to start.
Yep. Now they're trolling us.
Yes, now they're trolling us. So have a good night, everyone.
Night, brothers.
See ya.